Why do you think the LA housing prices are unbelievably inflated and rents are even worse? Is it all because of the private equity firms that are allowed to do what they're doing? Do you think? I don't know if you know. I'm just asking your opinion.
Well, I think it's a combination of factors, some that we've already described, but in addition, the idea of public housing went out the window decades ago.
No
And
kidding.
that leads to an undersupply of housing for lower income folks. What I always find incredible, I found this in Orange County when I taught there, was the janitorial staff at Chapman University were people who were quite often commuting an hour or two. I mean, imagine a 2 hour commute just to come in to clean toilets. They couldn't find any jobs anywhere near where they were working. I do think we need a lot more public housing than we have. Of course, the trend in recent years has been to move in the other direction, to privatize anything that's in the public commons.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's exactly. Well, that's neoliberalism. I think
In a nutshell,
yeah, in a
right?
nutshell, right there. It's supposed to take public assets, privatize them, extract wealth, and screw the people who need the government services the most.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this neoliberalism infected the Democratic Party terribly in the 1990s. I mean, it's the real legacy of Bill Clinton, I think, and Robert Rubin to bring in those folks. And it's not going to change unless we push the Democratic Party back into a different direction to embrace sort of the New Deal roots of the progressives. And I think, as you indicated, not just within the Democratic Party, you need activists outside the Democratic Party, people who believe in third parties, but we have to be making these arguments to the American people. They're not going to hear it on mainstream media. They have to hear it through campaigns like mine, where we were knocking on doors and talking to voters about the issues, and shows like yours that go around the mainstream media and reach people right through social media.
It doesn't even seem like the Democrats have an agenda. Like they don't even have a response to Trump, except we're not Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, so what's your bold, maybe why not hijack Bernie's agenda? I mean, that's the thing that people seem to be on board with. Why not have a populist message? It's like the people who control the Democratic Party still won't even admit that there even is a problem. I mean, I saw Nancy Pelosi on the CBS Morning Show say that people don't want the Democrats to change direction.
I saw that. I saw that. Jimmy, it seems to me that there are a lot of Democrats, the establishment of the party, would rather remain corporate owned and corporate coddled than to let go of that lifeline of corporate cash and try to be a party for the people. And you see it playing out with the discussions about who's going to head the Democratic National Committee, where when these candidates for the DNC post are asked, should we get rid of corporate lobbyist donations to the DNC? Should we ban it again the way it had been banned by President Obama back in 2008, 2009? There's a lot of sort of mealy-mouthed answers to it. And of course, part of that is each of these candidates need the votes of DNC delegates who have been swimming in a lot of this corporate cash.
Yeah,
So
we just saw Tom Perez admit that the DNC rigged the primary against Bernie, and then the next day he tweeted out that it didn't. So it's like, okay, so now you just prove that you're a liar sometimes, but of course he said he misspoke. So I think it's just, that's the thing that's turning people off, and the Democrats are destined to lose again in 2018. And it's because of the people with the money and the power. It's not because of people who, like me, or people like you. It's people like me and you are trying to reform this political system and try to return it. So that's the funny thing to me. The people with all the money and the power, the John Podestas, right? And they're not going to ever admit that there's a problem.
No, they're not. But we just have to beat them. There's a lot of reasons to say, to be pessimistic and say, well, it's destined to happen again in 2018. But take a look at the last year. Even though Bernie fell short, even though my campaign fell short, millions of people woke up in the past year. And I see it at the local level here now. The energy that's coming into the Democratic Party that wants to challenge the leadership of the party, the progressive energy, the young millennials that are showing up at local party meetings and at new progressive caucuses all over South Florida is very impressive. We've got to build on the gains that we saw in the past year. We can't be We can't throw in the towel and say we fell short, therefore, the game is rigged and we can't ever win. Yeah, the game has been rigged, and it's time to take off the gloves and really fight back.
I agree. I know the progressives in California took over. I went. It was the first time I'd ever gone to a delegate election for the Democratic Party in California, and there was a line down the block. You couldn't get in the room. There were so many people. So you are correct that this Trump presidency and the Bernie candidacy has woken a lot of people up to what's actually been going on in their government. And I think it was, the pretty face of Barack Obama, who's a very likable guy, right? So when he talks, he makes you feel good, and you forget about all the horrible shit he's doing in the Democratic Party. So I think that also put a lot of people to sleep for the last 8 years, and Bernie and Trump have woken people up. There is, even the Women's March, right? So I'm being told, or I've read, that was the biggest protest coordinated in the country's history. So that's just not people pushing back against Trump. That's like an amazing thing happening. And I hope the Democrats, I hope people like you can capitalize on the movement that's happening, or the anti-Trump feeling, right? So, but the problem is we have to fight back with something. Like you have something. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was a nothing. She offers you exactly what they're offering you, except a little bit less of it. So I hope the Democrats can fight back with something. Like, why don't they just adopt single payer? I had to see Bernie Sanders go on CNN and try to defend a right-wing health care plan.
I know. I saw that.
It was brutal. It was brutal. Go ahead.
He did bring up single payer, and, it's sad to see us in the position of trying to fight to maintain Obamacare. Let's see what the Republicans offer in its place. I doubt it's going to be much of anything. The Republicans are going to have to run on a record in 2 years. 2018 could be a watershed year. There's no reason to be pessimistic about it. We got to have progressives challenging Democrats in primaries. Look, I almost took out the head of the DNC, and I was a candidate for all of 8 months. Now we've got a lot more than 8 months to build on that all over this country. So we got to move the center of gravity within the Democratic Party away from this neoliberal and corporate establishment and move it into its progressive roots. And that will offer the American people a real alternative. I have little doubt, had Bernie Sanders been the candidate against Donald Trump, we wouldn't be looking at a Trump presidency. I have little doubt, quite frankly, if Hillary Clinton had just put Bernie Sanders on her ticket with her, we wouldn't have a Trump presidency. And I've said this many times, the Clinton campaign slogan of stronger together, they kind of forgot the word together. You have a two-word slogan, you should really remember both words.
I think that together they were referring to suburban Republicans.
Well, perhaps. Or progressives should just, get in line and suck it up, and no matter what they're being offered. And, a lot of progressives did. And here in Florida, if you take all the Green Party votes and put it into Hillary's column, Hillary still loses. So they can try to blame the Russians, they can blame the FBI, they can blame the Greens. It's really time for these folks to grow up, look in the mirror, and try to take responsibility for the mess that they have been making, not just in 2016. This has been going on for a decade now, as far as their total election defeats at the polls. And you're right, Barack Obama masked the failure of the Democratic Party. I'm sure you're aware of the statistics. Since 2010, the Democrats have lost over 1,000 seats nationwide in state legislatures and in Congress. This is the weakest position this party's been in since 1920, I think.
And, when you say stuff like that, and when I say stuff like that, people say, oh, my God, you're being divisive, and why are you such a purist? I'm sorry, we can't pass your purity test. And what I say is the only people that complain about my purity test are the people who can't pass it.
That's a good one. I like that. And, I saw Rahm Emanuel made a speech like this in the past week as well, and they try to say with a purity test, we won't win elections. Well, guess what?
You're not winning elections now.
Exactly. That's my point. It's not a purity test with them. It's a money test.
Yes.
They will follow whatever special interests are stuffing money in their pockets. And guess what? It's not working. Hillary outspent Trump 2-1. It's not working.
Tim, I think it's the old saying, if you don't learn from history, you're bound to win in 2018. All right, buddy. Well, listen, you know what? You're encouraging. It's nice to talk to you. It's very encouraging. You have a positive outlook for the future. I think 2018 should be a bloodbath. If the Democrats can come together, the only problem is when the Democrats say, let's come together, what they mean is that the progressives need to shut up. And we need to, I say, let's come together, but the corporatists need to shut up, and they need to be dissatisfied with the party for a while, unlike the Bernie Sanders wing of the party or the progressives have felt for the last 16 years or whatever, that we've been upset. I mean, we've been upset. That's why Ralph Nader ran in the first place, because the DLC got in bed with the Koch brothers. That was Bill Clinton and Al Gore. Look who Al Gore's vice presidential choice was. Joe Lieberman. Do you know what Joe Lieberman did 2 weeks ago? He introduced Betsy DeVos to the Senate. That was what Joe Lieberman did. That was Al Gore's vice president. That's how bad they were 16, 17 years ago. They're even worse now. So
well, this is the politics of triangulation. The Democrats keep moving to the right to try to co-opt the Republican issues, and then they wonder why the Republicans keep moving even further to the right. And, you know, you take a look at what the voters want, and you saw it with Bernie's campaign. I saw it with mine. They want people who are speaking the truth. You know, and I think one of the most insidious things that came out of the WikiLeaks was that statement that from the Hillary campaign or Clinton's emails, that she has, you know, one statement, one policy position for her private donors and another for the public. People are fed up with this. They really just want honesty. They want truth telling. And we need the politics of truth right now. And that's how the Democrats can come back and win. So enough of this, should we be further to the right or further to the left? No, we should just be honest. We should speak the truth to the American people.
I don't know about that, Tim. I think the reason why people like Bernie was because he was a good-looking jet setter hanging out with the nice... I think that's what it was. It was his shiny suits he got from JCPenney. I think that's what it was.
For both Bernie and I, it was our hair.
Yeah, Bernie's starting to do a Justin Bieber now.